Hello everybody, I'm Richard Tripp and welcome to another edition of Tripp's Corner here on ProView Networks. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, and we are joined by a very special guest, a very good friend of mine who hails all the way from Mora, New Mexico. He's my second guest that I've had on from, as they say, God's country, from down in the valley. Mark Cassidy is with us today. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Richard, for having me here today.
Pleasure
to be here.
It's awesome to have you here. I mean, I want to thank you because, you're our guest on one of our halftime shows for Highlands. But as we always do, Mark, I want to start at the beginning. Growing up in Mora, New Mexico, your great career at New Mexico Highlands, your great coaching career, which did not start in Mora, but ended in Mora, and it's been an amazing run. But growing up in Mora, New Mexico, man, that must have been a lot of fun.
It was. My childhood, pleasant memories of my childhood. And actually, I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm from Cleveland, New Mexico. Because my dad is sitting up there in heaven saying, you were always from Cleveland and you will always be from Cleveland, New Mexico. When I played basketball at Highlands, on the media guide, he had me put Cleveland, New Mexico, not Mora. You played at Mora, he says, but you're from Cleveland. So I grew up in Cleveland, and I have a big family. There's 7 of us, and we had, how many of us? There's 5 boys. Yeah, and my father was a very good athlete. So actually, my first love is baseball, because my father loved baseball, and that's the direction I would have liked to have gone. But no baseball in Mora until I was a sophomore in high school. So I grew up. Sports was always around the house. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a lot of baseball, honestly, some basketball, and then. In Mora, we had some elementary schools. Each elementary had a team, and I went to school in Holman, and we always had the best teams in the whole valley. Seriously, we won all the little elementary school championships. So I've played basketball, organized basketball, since I was in the 5th grade. And back in my day, I was the type of guy who, when it snowed, I would go shovel the snow, big old square, and play basketball. I didn't stay in the house. We didn't stay in the house very much when I was growing up. It was playing basketball. And then middle school and high school, I went to school in Mora. And that's where I met, some good friends of mine, like Matt Martinez, and wound up playing basketball with him the rest of my middle school and high school days. And a little bit later on, James Branch, who's an underclassman of mine. But basketball is life in Mora. It is. And it's the lifeline of the community. So as long as the Rangers are doing well, everything's good in the community. And I was fortunate. I was blessed with this ability to play this game. And I got to live the life for a kid growing up. Growing up, I'd go to the games and I'd watch guys like Roy Lujan, Gene Mays, my brother Michael. It's interesting because they'd go to each other's neighborhoods or in each other's houses, and we'd have a basket out there, and dirt ground,
right?
No plywood backboard, and these guys would play, and I'd sit there and I'd watch them. I'm like, wow. Roy lived down the street from me. Roy went on he had the school scoring record until I broke his record in high school, and then my brother Michael, who had the rebounding record at the school till I came and I broke it. But these are the guys that motivated me as a little kid. I'd go to the games and I'd sit down, you know how it is, a kid in a candy
mm-hmm.
store. You're watching these guys. So it was always part of my life there. And I kind of grew into the basketball thing because, like I told you, baseball was my first love. We played baseball at home. I'd play baseball, catch with my brother. I'd pitch against the wall. And I lived in a rural area, so I developed my batting skills by batting rocks.
Yeah.
So I had that really good, eye-hand coordination for hitting. And finally in the 10th grade, and John Abreu, a good friend of yours.
Right.
When John Abreu moved to Mora, I think it was in middle school, his dad, they started a baseball team. So John and I played with the Abreus and in Mora, and then I played against the Abreus in Taos, Eddie Abreu and Art Abreu.
Right.
So the Abreus have always been kind of a part of my life. And then my brother Jimmy and Ricky Abreu played on the state championship team in 1979. So we always had that Cassidy Abreu connection in Mora when it comes to basketball.
you know, the Cassidy family, like you said, the Cassidy name in Mora, you know, like you were saying, it's something significant, I guess you can say. It connects very well to the community down there. And it did, like you said, before your playing days began. Were you kind of taught by these older uncles, cousins, if you will, to play the game, or were kind of like self-taught?
Self-taught. It was because we worked on the ranch. We had the animals, and we had the chores and all that. We had to do all that. Came first, and then if we had time, you played, and you weren't in the house. You're always sent outside to play. And having brothers, it's cool. I mean, you always play with your brother, and then we're all close. We're only, I think there's about a 6 or 7 year difference between the 5 of us. And so we always had somebody to play with and somebody to kind of, so I learned a lot from my older brother, Michael.
Just by watching.
And yeah, and playing against him at the house, and then my younger brother Matthew and Jimmy, we would play, and just we're always playing.
You know, as you say, one of the things we better clarify, because Cleveland, New Mexico, outside of Mora, New Mexico, and I believe, you know, you got to go past Mora to get there.
Yes.
But it's one of those little communities in the Mora Valley area where you grew up with the mills. You grew up, you know, farmland is out there. There was a lot of land out there that you guys or the families out there had to work.
Yeah. The community of Cleveland at one time was a lot of just the Cassidy families, and they owned a lot of the land there. And as time went on, they eventually passed away and sold the land away. But yeah, Cleveland. My dad would be proud that I'm talking about Cleveland so much instead of Mora.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to give him more of a chance to talk about Cleveland, New Mexico. When we come back, segment 2 of Tripp's Corner, right around the corner, coming up.
Wondering if you can afford the ring of her dreams? At Crown Jewels & Coin, we actually double the diamond for what you would pay at a chain store. Trade in your old jewelry towards GIA certified diamonds. Choose from a large selection of settings featuring Veragio. We can customize a design and offer no credit check 2-year interest-free financing. Get more than you ever thought possible here at Albuquerque's family jeweler for over 50 years. Crown Jewels & Coin, for all you treasure. 3248 San Mateo at Kruger's Corner.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of ProView Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but 2 great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't forget, every ProView Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today.
Welcome back to segment 2 of Tripp's Corner, everybody. I'm Richard Tripp, and I'm joined by Mark Cassidy, who hails from Cleveland, New Mexico, but went to Mora High School, which is pretty much next door to each other, I guess you can say. Mark, pretty good upbringing in Cleveland / Mora, New Mexico, like you said. But now comes the great playing days at Mora, New Mexico, and not only the playing, but the great coaches that you had, and some of the probably the best people you can associate yourself with on the basketball court.
Yeah, I mean, it brings a smile to my face to think about my high school days there and playing basketball in Mora, because in Mora there was, in my days, we had a lot of good athletes, a lot of basketball players, and you had to go through the ranks. You know, you see a lot of kids nowadays in these small communities that are playing since they're in the 8th grade on the varsity.
Right.
Playing as a freshman on the varsity. And I'm like, wow, I wish that could happen to me. I didn't play on the varsity till full-time till I was a junior in high school. As a sophomore, I'd play my 4 quarters on the JV, and then I'd play my 1 quarter on the varsity.
Right.
So, you know, and again, I grew up watching the older kids, learning. That's one thing I've always done. I've always watched older guys. I've always played with older guys, and I think that's always made me a better basketball player. And part of my success in high school is attributed to Wells Park in Albuquerque.
Know it well.
In the summers of my junior and senior year, we had to work in the summers. There wasn't summer basketball. Okay, there wasn't summer sports. You had to go to work. So I had a sister who lived in Albuquerque, and I went to work. I'd work construction in the summers. And while I was there, I would get together with some of the old timers from Mora, and we played in the adult. They played in the adult leagues. So here I was, a junior in high school and a senior in high school, playing with the adults. In Wells Park, they had an outdoor season in the summer. So I was getting better. I was playing all the time, and I'd showed when I'd come back to play in high school. I mean, in Mora as a junior and as a senior, I excelled, and I'm 6'3". And back in 1975, 76, 6'3" is like being 6'6" now. Okay, I was one of the taller guys around. So I was, you know, initially I was groomed to be a center, but then I had a coach, 2 coaches, Douglas Velarde and Arthur Romero, who I guess saw the ability I had, and again playing in Albuquerque in the summer leagues. I developed the outside shot. I developed the ball handling skills. So they pretty much allowed me to do everything, which helped me later on when I got to college. So my junior year, you know, I finally become a full-time varsity player. I become a starter. I'm the only junior on the starting 5, and we win. We go 27-5 that year, and we win 3rd at state. And my first experiences of playing in the pit. Played 3 games in the pit as a junior, and that season I had a pretty good year. I averaged 22 points a game that year. And then come my senior year, and again, like at Highlands, everything just took off my senior year. I wound up scoring 802 points my senior year, 490 rebounds. I led the state in scoring and rebounding, and again, my coaches allowed me the freedom to just play, you know, wherever I needed to play. And then I had good teammates. I had Matt Martinez and James Branch, who were my point guards. So Matt gets credit. I scored 800 points. Matt had about 400 assists, I guess.
Because there was no 3.
No threes.
No 3.
Actually, the 3-pointer would have hurt my game, because I was good from about 20 feet in.
You're a mid-ranger.
Yeah, and I I shot a lot of free throws. And then I made the North-South All-Star team. And back then there was only 4 classes. It was 1A, 2A, 3, and 4A. And everybody was made, it was one team. It wasn't a double A team, a triple A team, a 4A team, a 5A. It was one team comprised of everybody across the state. So I happened to make it. And I had a guy tell me, well, Cassidy, first time you're going to sit on the bench. And I was like, no, I'm not. So I got to start. Me and Eddie Abreu from Taos cracked the starting lineup with Alan Zahn. I don't know if anybody remembers Alan Zahn from Manzano High School, and on to play at Arkansas. But so we started that game, and that was another game I got to play in the pit. And So initially coming out of high school, I was going to go walk on at UNM. I had offers at College of Santa Fe. The Coast Guard Academy is where I kind of wanted to go, but I didn't know how to swim. So, and that's funny because now that's all I do is swim.
Yep.
But so I go to I wind up coming to New Mexico Highlands University. Probably the best decision I made because I had a great career at Highlands, and I got to play. And to me that was, and to most players, I think that's the important thing, getting to play. And coming to Highlands, that gave me that opportunity. I had to work my way through the system and just like back to the bottom of the totem pole and back to the top.
Right.
But it worked out. And then coming out of Highlands, I played one season in Australia. I played in the team I played for, the Toowoomba Mountaineers. Toowoomba is a town close to Brisbane. Most people know who Brisbane, Australia is. So when Coach Snow brings all these guys into Highlands from Brisbane, it's like, hey, brothers. So, and I think LaFleur, I think, is just from that area.
Yes.
Now. So it's cool. I played one season there, and then I came back to the United States because I wanted to get my college degree. Nobody in my family had ever graduated from college, and I was bound and determined that I was going to get a degree. So I came back, and I finished my degree. Because, I mean, when I was playing here, I wasn't a full-time student. I mean, I wasn't taking the number of hours you're supposed to take per semester, so I'd fallen behind. So it took me 5.5 years to graduate, but I got my degree, and something I'm very proud of, and which, I mean, thanks to NMHU and NMHU basketball, and it gave me an awesome career in teaching and coaching.
For you, I want to go back a little bit, to the right in between the Mora Highlands days, and the question always comes up is, number one, how did you get? Were you recruited? Did you walk on? Did you have this ambition to play for Highlands? How did all that come about?
I was recruited by Casey Martinez. He was the basketball coach at that time, and he came up to Mora and visited it with me. And then my most exciting, I got to tell this because I got to go to UNM. I did a recruiting trip to UNM, and I got to sit with Norm Ellenberger for about 2 minutes. And then he said, "My freshman coach is Pat King. Go talk to him." So that was my experience with Norm Ellenberger. So
Short and sweet.
Yeah. So I went down. I talked to Pat King, and I was kind of like, okay. So that kind of like turned me off there, and I said, okay. So then Casey kept after me. And like I said, the College of Santa Fe wanted me at that time. But like I said, baseball is my first love. I wound up playing baseball in high school my sophomore, junior, and senior year. And I'm not a bad I wasn't a bad pitcher and a catcher. And initially, Douglas Velarde was my baseball coach, and John Donnelly was the coach at Highlands. Mm-hmm. So initially I was supposed to come to Highlands and play basketball and baseball. But when I got here, it was kind of like basketball is paying your scholarship. Basketball, so you need to put in full time into basketball. So there went the baseball thing. And still in the back of my mind, I still have that question, what if I had played baseball? Because that still is, or when I was a kid, like I told you, was my first love because of my father. Because he was a great baseball player. So,
well, I'll tell you what, when we come back on segment 3, he may not have been able or didn't get the opportunity to fulfill the baseball dream other than playing it, but he sure did a pretty good job as the head baseball coach at Mora. That and a lot more, the final segment of Tripp's Corner, coming up.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't forget, every ProView Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewnetworks.com to buy your DVD today.
Wondering if you can afford the ring of her dreams? At Crown Jewels and Coin, we actually double the diamond for what you would pay at a chain store. Trade in your old jewelry towards GIA certified diamonds. Choose from a large selection of settings featuring Viraggio. We can customize a design and offer no credit check 2-year interest-free financing. Get more than you ever thought possible here at Albuquerque's family jeweler for over 50 years. Crown Jewels and Coin, for all you treasure. 3248 San Mateo at Kruger's Corner.
Welcome back to segment 3, everybody, of Tripp's Corner. I'm here with Mark Cassidy. You know, Mark was talking in the last segment about how, yes, he did play baseball, but didn't quite get the opportunity to see it through. Perhaps if you would have started earlier, as you said, who knows? Who knows? But I do want you to share that story about your dad. Your dad was a pretty good baseball player in the military, you were telling us during the break.
Yeah, my dad in the military played on the Army baseball teams. So while he was with them, he was a pitcher, and he played with some of the professional baseball players, and one of them was a catcher for the New York Yankees. So he invited my dad to go back with him and try out for the Yankees. But my old man decided to come home instead, and he never got that opportunity. So that's where our love for baseball came from my dad, because we always used to. That's one thing we did with my dad. We played catch, and he taught us. I used to. Baseball, I can talk baseball with anybody about the old days.
Right.
I used to read the sporting news. I used to watch the games on TV. I used to listen to games on the radio. Baseball, not basketball. But Mora, baseball didn't exist in Mora, so I kind of had to take what was there, which was basketball.
You know, from there, you know, after your playing days are all over, let's talk about the coaching days now, if you will. And a lot of, we know you were the head basketball coach of the Mora boys team for a while. You coached baseball, but it really didn't start there as far as your coaching career. You know, kind of take us through that.
My first job was in Magdalena, the Magdalena Steers.
Mm-hmm.
I was a coach. I was in Magdalena for 3 years. I was assistant basketball coach and assistant baseball coach there. And Bob DeVries is the head cross country coach and the head track coach at New Mexico Highlands University. Bob and I both started in Magdalena, and 3 years. I was there for 3 years then, and my wife came back to Las Vegas to get her master's, so that kind of brought us back to this area. And then I needed a job, so I wound up. There was an assistant coach's job in Mora at the time open for basketball, so I went there with the intentions to be Douglas Velarde's assistant coach, because Arthur Romero had resigned after 13 seasons. Well, by the time school starts, Douglas resigns also. So here I am at the age of 28, and with 3 years of junior varsity experience, I was handed the reins of the Mora basketball program, and I'm like, okay, but you know, when you're young, you're not afraid of anything.
Right.
So I started out my career coaching basketball there for 5 years. I coached the boys for 5 years. And then just like, you know, Mora does so well, they ran me out of town too. And then I switched over to baseball.
Right.
And I coached baseball for 9 seasons. And I loved it. That was my dream of baseball. I was able to coach it.
Right.
And then came along girls basketball. I never, no offense, ladies, but I never thought of girls basketball as a real sport. Well, honestly, when basketball first came out for the girls, I was like. But then, you know, one winter the head coach then needed an assistant coach, and he kind of like, look, you can use your increment money to buy Christmas presents. And I'm like, all right. So I started coaching girls basketball, fell in love with it, fell in love with the passion that the kids bring, the fundamentals. They'll go through a wall for you.
Yep.
It's just a whole different type of attitude from the ladies than it is from the men and the boys. So I did that on and off for a total of, I think, I was in education for 31 years, and I only coached 18 years. And 5 were boys, and I think 13 were girls. And I was I guess I was 6. I won a state championship, so everybody thinks I can coach. And no, that's the attitude. Seriously, if you win a state championship, they think you can coach. So I was in 1998, and it's kind of special for me in 2 ways, because my father died in December 1997. So after his death, we didn't lose a single game the rest of the season, and we went on to win the state championship. It was the first in the school's history for girls basketball. And then I got interviewed by a guy named, you know very well, Al Garcia.
Yep, very well.
Garcia, Richard's father-in-law.
Yep.
Who had a passion. I loved him. He was such a great man, and so
loved Mora.
Yeah,
the Valley.
And he interviewed me after the game, and it was special for me. He did the play-by-play for the game, and did such a great and awesome job. And then another thing that was special to me was me and Matt Martinez were teammates in high school. And he had gone into coaching girls basketball also at Pojoaque. And he had a very successful program there, but he couldn't get to that last game because he had to play Kirtland every year. That's when Kirtland had those powerhouses and Shiprock. And so in 1998, we win state that morning, and then Matt wins state that night. So it was a special in that sense, and that it even gets better. Later on, a week after we win state, the Mora boys win state. So Manuel Romero, who played for me, now wins the state championship the same year I do, the same year Matt does. So it was a trifecta there of Mora graduates, right. Or we were all tied in with basketball there, and we all kind of shared the game with each other because we either played together or I coached Manny, and so it was really special that year. And then my father passing away and kind of winning it, kind of for him, or kind of like in honor of him.
For you, and yes, you are and were a pretty successful coach. In these couple of minutes that we have left, coaching, as we always say, teaches us many lessons. I coached for 30 some years, and I'll never understand it. There's something special about being a coach. For you, what kind of stood out or stands out?
Well, we need to understand as coaches that we're role models, and our kids will watch us and what we do. So it's important that we do things in a positive way. My influences in in my life have been my coaches, as many athletes can attest to. Their coaches have been for them, their father figures for them. With me, I had boys, I had girls who still to this day will come back and say, thank you, coach. And me with Coach Arthur Romero and Douglas Velarde, Casey Martinez here at Highlands, those guys are the reason that I went into this business. What they did for me and provided for me is what I kind of wanted to carry on to somebody else. And Casey Martinez is the guy who kind of encouraged me or pushed me into coaching, because he says, what are you going to do with your life, Cassidy? I said, I don't know. He said, bring me your transcripts. So I brought in my transcripts, and he says, you're going to coach and teach. I said, I am? He says, yes, sir. So that's how I got into the business. And then again, the influence that I had from Arthur Romero had a big influence on all of us, as did Casey, because me and James Branch, Matt Martinez, Albert Martinez, we all went into coaching basketball because of Arthur and Douglas. And then in college, it was me and Pancho and James and Ray Rodriguez, a bunch of guys that played for Casey that went into coaching. So we have a big influence on our athletes.
And people don't even know. You've got to take advantage of that.
Oh, yes.
Mark, I want to thank you very much for coming on in this edition of Tripp's Corner, man. It was awesome. The great Mark Cassidy, and we just scratched the surface of what we can talk about, but we'll do that sometime, maybe at the Mexican Kitchen or something. But I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you for watching another edition of Tripp's Corner here on ProView Networks. Until next time, I'm Richard Tripp. Peace. We're out.